was Jesus from that time, the age of 12 years old to the age of 30. And the Bible school teachers would just basically say, well, God does not want us to know about that.
And Jesus increased in wisdom, in stature, and in favor with God and man. Now, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, the word of God came unto John, the son of Zacharias, in the wilderness. Now, when all the people were baptized, it came to pass that Jesus, also being baptized, and praying, the heaven was opened, and Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age.
It's frequently referred to as the hidden years, and I think mainstream Christian churches have assumed that he was growing up in Palestine, that he was being raised by his mother Mary and by Joseph.
I would have to say that he was with Joseph and Mary growing up. As boys grow up, probably mischievous at times, I don't see him as being anything other than just a normal human being, because that's the form he took.
You need to understand.
No difference where
You need to understand. You need to understand. You need to understand. You need to understand. You need to understand.
What would it change? What do you think of nothing?
People have said, how could Jesus have traveled to India? What road, what route was available? And the answer is the most famous trade route in the world, the Silk Road. The Silk Road was an ancient caravan route between China and the Mediterranean. And the distance, approximately the distance, say from the port of Acre, ancient port of Acre, on the coast of Israel, all the way across to, let's say, Srinagar in Kashmir. The ancient route could be covered in about 1 year, walking in about 10 miles a day. You could cover a distance of around 4,000 miles from Israel to India in about 1 year. Krishnamurti made the quote that whenever a human being sets out to find the real truth about something, he or she must arm himself with great courage, because he may not find what he wants to find.
When a person becomes possessed, they need to answer a single question. For example, the question of where Jesus was in those years where there's no description of him in the New Testament. The harnessing of basic human curiosity is involved. We are curious. And it's difficult for the outside observer to know whether a person is obsessed or inspired. Socrates said, I am commanded by my God to go around and ask my fellow Greeks difficult questions. Even if you will kill me for doing so, I will not stop asking difficult questions.
I lost a number of friends through the years concerning this material. I gave up my house, sold my house to have my book published. I told some of my relatives, and they just kind of scoffed at the concept and did not want to hear any more about it. And of course, if we're going to talk about rejection, how many people rejected Jesus when Jesus was living? How many people listened to his message and it's, oh, what a troublemaker. Oh, that Jesus troublemaker. Like that. So, what's wrong with being rejected? Sure. It's not, I think the rejection does not deal so much with the individual being rejected, but it deals more with the rejector.
I'm Brother Chidananda. I'm a monk of Self-Realization Fellowship and disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. I've been a monk in SRF for about 26 years, and for many of those years, most of those years, my service in Self-Realization Fellowship has been with our publications area, assisting with the editing and publication of the books by Paramahansa Yogananda. here is this individual who is the focal point of Western history. And yet, a huge block of time in the life of this individual, there's absolute silence in the Gospels about that. We have the beautiful story of his birth and visit of the three wise men, and a little account of him with his parents visiting the temple in Jerusalem. Takes him up to about the time when he was 12, 13, just a young man. And then there's a curtain of silence that just comes down, boom, and nothing for 18 years. We have the story in the Gospel shortly after the birth of Jesus where the Gospel describes the visit of the wise men of the East who came to honor the birth of the Christ, the birth of Jesus with gold and frankincense and myrrh. And again, the Gospel is very sketchy about who these individuals were, where they come from. We call them the three kings. We three kings of Orient are. Well, there's no mention in the Bible of them being kings. There's no mention of where they came from. There's just this word that magi, meaning wise men from the east. Now, Paramahansa Yogananda said that actually those three wise men were great sages, great rishis who had traveled from India. From the very beginning of Jesus' birth, we have this very significant connection with the spiritual traditions of India. Again, the spiritual homeland, the spiritual lighthouse of humanity of ancient times.
From the word itself, magus, they were some kind of astrologers from the east. The fact that they were fascinated by a star in the story, it seems to be the way Matthew wants to portray them, that they are astrologers. Exactly where they come from, he does not tell us, and I don't think we can know that.
Paramahansa Yogananda said that Jesus himself, when he got to be 12 or 13 years old, joined up with one of the common trade caravans that were constantly going back and forth from Palestine and traveled to India, where he spent many years both in India and also in Nepal and Tibet, responding, you might say, to that connection that was established between him and these great sages of India at the time.
Step on any toes or find any hot potatoes. I was not trying to find anything controversial. I just wanted to answer the question in my own mind. Where was Jesus during the missing years? What was he doing? I just wanted to know.
Of course, as a historian, you want to know what happened. But you have no reason to believe that he really was in India. Most probably he lived in Nazareth and learned carpentry, and at the same time prepare through prayer, through meditation, through contemplation, through what we call the Nazarite. The Nazarite was a complete dedication of their life to God. And it included, but you were not allowed to touch your beard or your hair with a scissor, and you lived as a celibate. That's why Jesus, even when he started preaching around 30, was not married. He had not had to go to India to learn this, but he could learn it among his fellow Jews.
Jesus was born to a Jewish family. His teachers were Jewish. His practice was Jewish. His home was far more reliably kosher than that of 98% of American Jews today. Everything else about the story, Judaism really does not have an opinion. The Jews were expecting in the time of Jesus a Messiah, not necessarily a prophet. The Messiah was one who was going to, as I said, lead the battles, bring the oppression to an end, return Jews from exile, reestablish Jewish monarchy, and then gradually bring the world around, not to a Jewish message, but to a monotheistic message.